You're listening to Short Inspirations from Ralph. In a Moment, Part 2. In the last episode, I talked about the danger of living in the past and living in the future. Both tend to eliminate the now, the most important time that we have, the most important place that we can have with our God, because that's the only place that He can be in our time-driven existence. Don't get me wrong, there's precious memories that we have, and there's many things that we learn from what's happened in our lives in the past. And we can certainly pray that God will be in our tomorrows, in our future. But He is here right now, even as you're listening to this. He's right there, in this moment. But this word tomorrow is more dangerous than you may realize. There's a great illustration of this in the book of Exodus, where Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, has this massive workforce, slaves they were, for centuries, the Hebrews. And Moses advocates on their behalf for Pharaoh to let them go. But the hard-hearted Pharaoh refuses, and so God sends 10 plagues. And the second plague is a plague of frogs. They came out of the river and invaded everything. And Exodus 8 is very descriptive, almost humorous, as to what's going to happen. The Nile will teem with frogs, it says in verse 3. They will come up into your palace and your bedroom and onto your bed, into the houses of your officials and on your people, and into your ovens and kneading troughs. The frogs are out of control, and Ken Davis puts it like this: Pharaoh can't even back his chariot out of the garage without killing 100 frogs. His pizza is covered with frogs. If his home is anything like mine, his wife and oldest daughter have been standing on chairs screaming ever since the plague began. His youngest daughter has run out of jars in which to collect and accidentally suffocate them. Frogs are everywhere. And Pharaoh's magicians, guess what they do? They make even more frogs. So Moses by now has Pharaoh's attention, and he asks Moses to say a frog removal prayer. Moses then gives the honor to Pharaoh, or the decision to Pharaoh as to when this is to happen. And Pharaoh utters a single word: tomorrow. What on earth was Pharaoh thinking? Why not now, in this moment? Get rid of them now. So Pharaoh decides that he'd have another night with the frogs. Apparently the Greeks had a name for this sort of behavior. They couldn't figure out why human beings choose to engage repeatedly in irrational acts that will not just harm others but also destroy themselves. The Greeks called this acrasia, on the grounds that the gods clouded human thinking and led humans to do crazy things. You know, over the years in pastoral care and pastoral ministry, myself and my wife have come across many situations that are presented to us that are destructive. For example, a woman may be in a relationship where she's being physically abused, along with other very destructive things that are happening in that relationship. But she continues to stay in there and perhaps deal with it tomorrow. You see, people persistently tolerate and maintain behavioral patterns that will destroy their own lives. It's irrational. Someone who's got a sexual addiction that keeps going back to the internet, even though he knows it's destroying his marriage and self-respect, and it's eating him up with guilt. Perhaps it's a man drowning in debt, being hounded by creditors and losing his house even. But he continues to rack up purchases with his credit card that are not helping the situation. Just another night with the frogs. John Ortberg says tomorrow may be the most dangerous word in the English language. It's probably why the writer of Hebrews in chapter 3 verse 15 says, today when you hear His voice, don't harden your hearts. But what matters most is this: God is present in this instant, offering to partner with us in whatever we face. And we can get fooled into thinking that this great adventure in this partnership with God is somewhere in tomorrow. Perhaps we think that we'll grow closer to God one day when the kids are no longer small, or the demanding pressures of work get easier, or when we're learning a bit more discipline, or our motivation levels are higher. But the good news is that He, our God, is available in this moment right now, always now, only now. May you today find Him in this moment. Don't put Him off to some abstract time in the future, which may never happen. God bless you.